when I think about communities doing better for people like my son Jackson, I think it's about building up resilience in the communities. And I think the way to build up resilience in the communities is to present my son Jackson and others like him as ordinary people who can work, they can contribute, they have emotions, they have families, they have likes and preferences. So it's a long-range, long-term thing.
I'm firmly of the view that our obligations, all of us here today, and all of us in the team which is gathered around people with disability and Disability Care Australia, is to knock down that attitude barrier. Because until that occurs, people with disability will not be equals and will not be included in Australian society.
But the reality is that people with disabilities are fundamentally people first. And so the question is not really, oh, what do I want to do with my disability? The question is fundamentally, what was I born for? What is it that I want to do with my life?
We do not put limits on what is possible around people, regardless of their ability, disability, or complexity of needs.
Go where you are celebrated, not tolerated. If they can't see the real value of you, it is time for a new start. Author unknown, and thank you.
Many families find it impossible to identify a goal because they haven't been privy or they haven't had the chance to listen to the positive stories, the good stories, to hear people talk about vision and achievements.
You know, there's a lot of things that are essential ingredients for making Cameron's life the way it is now. The person-centred planning, the support crew, his work, his own home, all these are fantastic things that have transformed this bloke's life from being a person that the system said would have to be institutionalised, would never work, would never contribute, would never have relationships outside of his family, and he's proved them all wrong, and we couldn't be more proud of him. I know that there are stories like this here in Victoria. You need to uncover them and share them because they're really, really important to other parents that are kind of not quite sure what to do yet, but are on the cusp of actually taking that leap.
Luke is more intelligent than all the students that do poetry with him put together, but every second we spend with him, we become more intelligent.
You know, by that time, the neighbours knew Dave was going to have an open house every year, and they started asking ahead of time, when is Dave's open house going to be, because we want to come. So it was really very powerful that the neighbours wanted to be involved in Dave's life.
So with a small adjustment to routine, to let Duncan get on the bus first and sit in the front seat, his education resumes.
Kim's life and her circle have sort of been the breeding ground for enriching connections and friendships for other people.
All he badly wanted was to get back to school. That was the extraordinary day of his life, and I happened to be there his first day with his parents when he went back to school. The power of that with some simple intervention.
Another benefit for Cameron is that he occasionally speaks at functions like this and tells people about the difference to his life since moving out of home.
So I'd have to say that being in that local school helped to weave the web of relationships that we've wanted for Sean.
She's set herself a goal. She's now going to go to Graceland, and in 3 years' time, and she's going to see Elvis's home without Mum and Dad.
Essie has very kindly given me permission to share her story and what her journey has been like to be able to live in her own home.
She has been the person who has the longest, greatest success with roommates who stay and come forward in really ordinary ways.
She loved Luke. As a little girl, she knew that Luke was different, but she loved him and she supported him as a friend. And that's the one thing I want you to take away from this, is what people like Luke need is friends.
And then we've got the community. We've got how she's actually living and engaging with the people in her neighbourhood, with the places where she goes to.
And one day, and what happened in the bookshop, it just began to sell. He was interviewed on the radio, he was on the paper, he was such a celebrity.
I have learned that if you find the right support worker and you employ them for the right reasons, they will stay with you.
You really have done a lot of things, June, just recently that you've never done before.
Yeah.
And some of those things were Michael Kendrick actually asked you to talk at one of his presentations.
Michael asked me to talk to make him happy.
I knew that we had set up Home for Alex when about 6 months ago, after having spent the weekend with us, he not only wanted to go home, but he walked in the door and I walked in the front door and I turned around and I looked at him and he just, he was at home.